Getting up from Marcus's bed, he lazily handed me my underwear. I've changed the front door passcode. Don't come around unless necessary from now on. I froze, instinctively asking, why? He smirked and said, she agreed to be my girlfriend yesterday. I'm afraid she'll see it and get upset. I've been chasing her for so long. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day. Now the story begins. When I opened my eyes, my whole body ached terribly. Even after so many times, I still can't get used to Marcus's animal-like stamina. Turning around, I found him already awake, his beautiful latissimus dorsi muscles bare in the sunlight, glowing with a faint honey hue, his half-lidded eyes lazily gazing. Up so early for what? His voice still carried a husky remnant of sleep. The stiffness in my waist made me frown as I bent to put on stockings, only to find yesterday's pair completely ruined by his rough handling, utterly unwearable now. Marcus rolled over, dangling my underwear from his fingertips with a mischievous glint in his eyes. You're still wearing this kind of white lace at your age? How outdated. Try something fresh for a change. I took the lingerie. Then I'll buy some new ones. What kind do you like? Marcus cut me off. No need. I'll change the gate code later. Don't come by unless there's something important. I was stunned. This kind of relationship with Marcus has lasted a year now. At first he'd call me over every few days, but later I practically lived at his place except when he had to work overtime. I'd usually tidy up for him, and when we got off work early we'd curl up on the sofa watching movies with popcorn, getting intimate before the film even ended, like a real couple. Gradually I grew accustomed to this life. Sometimes I couldn't help thinking, perhaps Marcus had also grown used to my presence. If we could start a family someday, we'd surely be very happy. But now he's telling me not to come anymore. I instinctively asked, is your family coming? Or are you busy with work lately? I could. He stood up and looked at me, his thin lips curling into a smile. No, she agreed to be my girlfriend. It took me a moment to realize who the she he was referring to was. I recently heard that Marcus was pursuing a girl who just graduated from college. Over the years, women have come and gone around him like schools of fish crossing a river. With the longest relationship lasting no more than 3 months, I had initially thought this was just another whim of his and didn't pay much attention. I asked hoarsely, are you serious? Marcus smiled and said, seriously, she's different from all those other women. Hannah, you have no idea. She's genuinely pure. I don't want her to know about us. It'd upset her. I've been chasing her for ages. Sunlight pierced through the gap in the curtains, so damn blinding. It was dizzying. Ah, all right. After half a second, I replied calmly, then I'll move all my things out today. No need to be in such a hurry. Marcus casually grabbed a pair of grey sweatpants and put them on. Didn't you give up that apartment? Stay a couple more days until you find a place before leaving. I closed my eyes for a moment, a stinging pain exploding in them that left me somewhat at a loss. No need, I'm moving out today. I don't know why I'm in such a hurry. Marcus was right, I actually have nowhere to go. But I just want to leave this place immediately. I feel like Marcus has stripped off my skin and left it baking in the sunlight. I'm about to be completely consumed by shame. Marcus didn't have many of my belongings at his place. Most of what I bought were pots and pans for cooking for him, bedding sets for the bed, and some miscellaneous decorative pillows and such. The house was decorated in a minimalist style, and he once said helplessly that since I arrived, the number of things in the house had been increasing, yet all my personal belongings could fit into just one suitcase. As I was leaving, Marcus called out to me. He stood bare-chested, his muscular torso leaning against the doorframe as he lowered his head to light a cigarette. Hannah, you're not getting any younger. It's time to settle down with someone. He exhaled smoke, his lips curling into something between a smile and a smirk. From now on, we'll just be friends. I understood what he meant and nodded in response. Okay, Shanghai winters are damp and bitterly cold. The temperature may not be extremely low, but the chill seems to seep into your very bones. It seems to be snowing. Something icy and moist just landed on the tip of my nose. I look up. The sky, clear just moments ago, has suddenly darkened, and countless tiny snowflakes are swirling down with the wind. It's been years since Shanghai last saw snow, ever since I came to this city with Marcus. It feels like I haven't seen snow at all. Suddenly, I remember the snow back in my hometown, in the small coastal city up north. When winter comes, the moisture in the sea breeze turns into goose-feather-like snowflakes, swirling down all night long. By the next morning, the snow can pile up knee-deep, leaving the world blanketed in white. It's exhilarating, unlike the snow brought by southern winds, lingering and melancholic, weighing heavy on the heart. I set my luggage aside and simply sat down at the roadside bus stop to call home. My mother answered quickly, her voice a mix of excitement and cautious hesitation. Hannah. I inhaled the cold air and rubbed my stinging nose. Mom, I miss your homemade dumplings. My mother replied cheerfully, "Should I make some for you? Let me check flight tickets, it's almost New Year's, so they might be hard to get." I interrupted her. "No need, Mom, I'm coming home for New Year's this year." My mother paused, a note of excitement creeping into her voice. "Really? Yeah." I lifted my head. Snowflakes seemed to have gotten into my eyes. I blinked my slightly moistened eyes and said hoarsely, "Mom, I'm thinking of going back to my hometown." That very afternoon, I handed in my resignation. My boss tried hard to persuade me to stay. "Is it about the salary? If you have any requests, we can discuss them. The department manager will be transferred next year. And you're the most promising candidate for the position in our department. It'd be such a waste to leave now." I shook my head with a smile. "Thank you, but I want to go home and spend time with my parents. I've never been an ambitious person, without dreams of rising above others, just wanting to live my own simple life. I came to Shanghai because of Marcus. He wanted to build his career here, so I stayed without hesitation. I thought if I stayed by his side long enough, he would finally see me. But when it comes to matters of the heart, effort alone can't change a thing." On the way to the hotel, a bookstore by the roadside was playing a song. A woman's voice sang with intensity, "Unconsciously loving until daring no risks, becoming your puppet for 1 year. 2 years, only then seeing how wretched I've become, love to the point of compromise. Yet in the end there's no solution, tying you down so you can't fly, history repeating itself wears me out." I listened quietly for a while. The first time I met Marcus was when I was 17, now I'm 28. Having compromised all these years for Marcus, and I'm about to turn 30, these 12 years of absurdity should come to an end. That night, I dreamed of the young Marcus for the first time in ages. 17-year-old Marcus transferred to our small county town during our second year of high school. At a time when all the boys still looked scruffy, he wore a black down jacket with tousled hair falling across his forehead, his figure tall and slender, handsome as if he were from another world. That afternoon, nearly all the girls in the grade came running to press their faces against the window just to catch a glimpse of him. Within a few days, even the school beauty came to deliver him a love letter. Yet he ignored everyone, always sleeping alone at the very back of the classroom. He seemed uninterested in everything, bringing nothing to class, never paying attention, and even the teachers left him alone. Occasionally during exams, he would poke my back. "Hey, let me copy your answers." He seemed certain I wouldn't refuse him, and indeed, I never did refuse him. Because of this, many guys couldn't stand him, calling him a show-off. Gangsters looking for trouble with him came in waves every few days. During that period, I'd see Marcus fighting in the alley behind the school almost daily. That day when I passed by, he was leaning alone in the alley smoking, his face covered in wounds. After hesitating for a moment, I stopped my bike and pulled a band-aid from my pocket to hand to him. "Your face is bleeding." He lifted his head and gave me a cold glance. "Get lost." At that moment, I thought this person was truly detestable. What's with the attitude? It's not like I liked him anyway. From then on, no matter how much he pestered me for answers, I never responded to him again. A month later, the number of girls coming to see Marcus had significantly decreased, but rumors about him in class had multiplied. Some said Marcus' down jacket, which he only wore once, was from a brand we'd never heard of, costing over $30,000 per piece. Others claimed Marcus was an illegitimate child, that his mother was the other woman. He and his mother were discovered by his father's first wife, and his father abandoned them. His mother couldn't survive in Shanghai anymore, so she took him back to their hometown. All the gazes directed at Marcus, admiring, disdainful, or curious, carried a subtle nuance. That night, as I passed by the alley on my way home from school, I found Marcus lying on the ground. He looked like he had just been in a brutal fight. His knuckles were covered in blood. His handsome face was full of wounds, and blood was trickling down his forehead. I didn't want to bother with him at first, but there he lay with his eyes closed in the snow. The snow kept falling, nearly burying him halfway, his face completely devoid of color. Afraid he might actually be dead, I cautiously walked over and gave him a gentle nudge. "Marcus, are you okay?" He didn't move, and I started to get anxious, pulling out my phone. "Then I'll call 120. Marcus finally lifted his eyelids, frowning as he said, "Why is it you again?" I was a bit upset, but there was no time to dwell on it now. "You're badly hurt. Let me take you to the hospital." "Mind your own business," he scoffed, then closed his eyes again. Ignoring him, I dialed 120 for an ambulance. He was dressed lightly, wearing only a black hoodie. After hesitating for a moment, I took off my red down jacket and draped it over him. Marcus froze for a second. As I was leaving, he called out to me. I turned back. My red down jacket was bought years ago, an outdated style that looked rather comical draped over Marcus. His gaze was gloomy. "Didn't you know my mother was the other woman?" "I got on the bicycle, I've heard." So what? Then why did you save me? Your mother is your mother, and you are you, I thought for a moment. Besides, being the other woman might be wrong, but it's not a capital offense, is it? Marcus remained silent. Snowflakes settled on his slightly trembling eyelashes as he stared fixedly at me. The sound of an ambulance soon approached. I waved my hand. Don't forget to return my down jacket. After that, Marcus didn't come to school for a week. The boys who fought with him didn't fare much better either. Marcus's mother stormed into the school in a rage, and soon after, all of them were expelled. A week later, Marcus returned. He handed me a blue down jacket, turned his head away, and said, "Your clothes are ruined, I'll get you a new one." I didn't think much of it at the time and simply accepted. It wasn't until much later that I learned the price of that down jacket. It could have bought every single piece of clothing I'd ever owned since birth. What followed was only natural. Marcus gradually warmed up to me, and I became his only friend in this small town. Before the college entrance exams, Marcus suddenly asked me, "Hannah, do you want to go abroad?" I froze for a moment as he lowered his head, the tips of his ears turning red. "My mom plans to send me to the U.S. after the college entrance exams. Would you like to come with me?" I smiled bitterly. "Young master, where would my family get the money to send me abroad? Then where do you plan to go?" I thought about it and said, "Beijing. I'm afraid I won't adapt to the southern climate. Besides, Beijing is close to my hometown, just a few hours by train when I want to go home." Marcus reached out and tugged my woolen hat over my eyes, then fell silent. Later, the teacher asked everyone to write down their dream university. I thought Marcus would choose one in the U.S., but he wrote down the same university in Beijing as I did. I was surprised. "Marcus, didn't you plan to go to America?" He slumped on the table, mumbling indistinctly. "I suddenly think America isn't that great after all. Beijing is pretty good too." But 3 days before the college entrance exam, Marcus tore up that note. I asked him, but he remained silent. It wasn't until that night that I learned Marcus's father's first wife and son had both died in the same car accident. His father asked his mother to bring him back. After losing one son, his father finally began to care about this remaining child, promising to give his mother official status as long as he stayed in Shanghai, and to let him inherit the family business. He said he didn't care about the old man's money. But his mother slapped him in tears and told him, "Do you have any idea what I've suffered all these years, and who I've suffered for? If your father marries me, your mother won't be the other woman anymore. No one can ever call you the son of a mistress again." The summer cicadas buzzed so loudly it made my head throb. Under the white birch shade, Marcus kept his head down, avoiding my gaze. "I'm sorry, Hannah, I can't go to Beijing with you." His voice was still hoarse from crying, the corners of his eyes red. I thought for a moment, then stood on tiptoe to knock lightly on his head. "It's okay, then I'll go to Shanghai with you." When I opened my eyes, it was already morning. Perhaps because I got caught in the snow yesterday, my head felt a bit sore, but tonight is a friend's birthday. And I've already bought the gift. I have to go. Picking up my phone, Marcus's message was at the top. He sent a picture. It was a Snoopy pajama set. "Forgot to bring the pajamas. Come get them tonight." It was the matching couple's pajamas I'd secretly bought before, one for him, one for me. On the rare occasions he wore them, I'd feel a fleeting, illusory happiness, as if for that brief second, he belonged to me. But looking back now, it was pitifully laughable. I replied with a few words. "Throw it away. I don't want it anymore." He never replied again. I turned over, covering my eyes with my arm. After arriving in Shanghai, Marcus experienced many things. Only then did I realize his mother wasn't actually the other woman. Back then, his mother had been with his father first. She gave birth to him out of genuine love for his father. It was only later that his father found a woman of equal social standing to marry, abandoning him and his mother, Marcus even after marrying his mother. His father still lingered among the flowers outside, even attempting to father several more sons. His mother had a very hard time, arguing with his father every day until she became severely depressed and ultimately jumped to her death. After that, his father seemed to suddenly change his ways, never seeking other women again. Yet the rift between father and son had become irreparable, and after that, Marcus never returned home. He began drinking heavily, street racing, and chain smoking. He became like other rich heirs, partying every night. Once aloof toward all women, he now moved effortlessly through their company, a seasoned player. That clean-cut Marcus seemed to have vanished like a mirage. It was but a phantom in the tapestry of my memory. At a gathering with friends that evening, I met Marcus's new girlfriend for the first time, a fair-skinned girl dressed in a camel-colored coat, her chestnut curls tucked beneath a cashmere scarf. She had crescent moon eyes when she smiled, radiating quiet grace, not strikingly beautiful, but refreshingly pure. Marcus is right, she was truly different from all those girlfriends he'd had before. You must be Hannah. She jumped over and grabbed my hand with a laugh. Marcus talks about you all the time. What a liar he is. He said you weren't pretty. But you're clearly gorgeous. As a woman myself, I could easily detect the hostility in her eyes. It seems a woman's intuition is really accurate. She must have sensed that Marcus and I have an unusual relationship. Just as I was about to speak, Marcus cut me off. He held the girl's hand and said, "Lisa, your sister-in-law." The others started teasing. This is the first sister-in-law Marcus has ever brought out. Seems like she's the real deal this time. Sister-in-law is amazing. Over the years, so many girls have liked our Marcus, but no one could ever win him over. When's the wedding banquet? I'll definitely prepare a big red envelope. Lisa blushed and leaned against Marcus, pursing her lips in silent laughter. Marcus shielded her. All right now, Lisa's easily frightened, don't scare her. Their friends teased. Already being so protective, we're getting force-fed dog food today. We found our seats and sat down. In previous occasions like this, Marcus would always sit beside me. This time, out of habit, he naturally took the seat to my left, just as I was about to remind him. Lisa walked up to me, pursing her lips. She mustered her courage and said, "Hannah, would you mind moving to another seat? Since you're still single, it's better to avoid any suspicion with a man who has a girlfriend, don't you think?" I frowned. Clearly, I was the one who sat down first, and now I'm being asked to move. What kind of logic is that? Marcus gave me a push and said, "Don't upset your sister-in-law, Hannah, just find another spot." I glanced at him and moved to sit across from them. The night was lively, with countless bottles of wine being opened. During dinner, Lisa nudged Marcus. "Marcus, I want to eat that fish." Marcus instinctively replied, "Aren't you allergic to fish?" Lisa fell silent, and my chopsticks paused mid-air. After a long while, Lisa said with an unpleasant expression, "Marcus, I'm not allergic to fish." Marcus paused for a moment. "Is that so? Maybe I remembered wrong." Lisa stared at him. "Who's allergic to fish?" Marcus said absent-mindedly. "Forgot. Had too much to drink." Lisa glanced at me, her expression somewhat gloomy. Then she picked up a piece of fish and placed it on my plate, her big eyes staring straight at me. "Hannah, this fish is well cooked. You should try it." The friend beside them didn't notice what had just happened and said drunkenly, "Sis-in-law, you don't know. Hannah can't eat fish. She's allergic to it." Lisa said calmly, "Oh, really?" After 3 rounds of drinks, everyone was a little tipsy. One of the friends, his face flushed red, said, "Marcus, back then we all bet whether you'd settle down before 30. Who'd have thought you'd find true love so quickly?" Another friend was also drunk, squinting with a silly grin. "Yeah, back then we all thought you and Hannah were so close. You'd end up together." Lisa's face had darkened to the point of dripping water. Marcus suddenly curled his lips. "Oh. How could we possibly be together? We're best friends. That's hilarious." He really started laughing as he said it, as if this were the funniest joke in the world. Their friends also burst out laughing. "Yeah, now we finally get it. You two are that classic case of just friends between a guy and a girl. Ha ha." I also laughed along. "Exactly. How could I possibly be with Marcus? That's just ridiculous." Marcus walked over and slung an arm around my shoulder. He was probably already drunk. His face flushed red, eyes brimming with liquid light as he tilted his head and said, "Hannah, you don't actually like me, do you?" At that moment, I wanted to see something in his eyes, but there was nothing. He just stared straight at me, as if we were truly nothing more than the good friends he claimed us to be. The corners of my lips lifted. How could that be? "That's good." Marcus nodded, shaking my shoulders. "We're best friends, after all, despite having drunk so much." I'd never felt more sober in my life. I repeated, "Yeah, best friends." Early the next morning, I bought a direct flight home. Before boarding, I took one last look at my phone. Marcus posted a new moment with Lisa. No caption, just their fingers intertwined. "This is an official announcement. Below are all the blessings from friends." After staring at it for a while, I pulled out the SM card and threw it into the trash. Going home seems easier than imagined. My parents picked me up by car. As the Lunar New Year approached, red lanterns hung everywhere on the streets, though not as bustling as Shanghai. The lingering scent of fireworks in the air suddenly made me feel at ease. My mother was overjoyed, because to accompany Marcus for the new year. I hadn't returned home for the holidays in 3 years, but her happiness didn't last long before she couldn't help nagging. "You're almost 30 this year. How come there's still no movement on your end? Old Jackson's daughter next door is a year younger than you, and her kid can already run errands. Oh my. I saw the little one the other day, such a chubby, adorable thing. All the young girls at Mom's workplace are going on blind dates. Speaking of which, there's this new young man who just moved in next door, quite handsome. I'll introduce you to when the time comes." Mom kept stealing glances at my expression as she spoke. I used to despise blind dates. During these years of being infatuated with Marcus, I'd devoted myself entirely to him. After that drunken night that threw our relationship into chaos, I thought I had my chance, and my eyes saw only him. So every time my mother brought up arranged marriages, I'd get terribly annoyed and refuse to listen to a single word. But this time, watching the red firecracker scraps dancing outside the window, I suddenly felt exhausted. I'm tired. Settling down isn't actually that bad. I said, okay, stop being so resistant all the time. Mom knows you like that Lee guy. But what did you just say? I lowered my lashes. I said, okay, you can introduce us. After dinner that night, I habitually picked up my phone, only to receive a call from Marcus. I've already switched to a new WeChat account, but many friends are still on the old one, so I've been logging into it occasionally these past few days. He seemed to have completely forgotten about the recent events and said naturally, "Why isn't your phone working?" Before I could speak, he continued, "Never mind. I've already prepared everything for New Year's. If there's anything else you'd like to add, I'll have my assistant buy it." Suddenly I remembered Marcus's mother's passing that year. That year I returned to my hometown for New Year's. On New Year's Eve, I video called Marcus, wanting to wish him an early New Year. The video call took a long time to connect, the screen pitch black except for a single crimson-orange dot of light slowly fading. Marcus's voice came through hoarsely, "What?" As my eyes adjusted to the darkness, I realized Marcus was sitting alone on the balcony, surrounded by scattered liquor bottles and cigarette butts. Outside the window, countless household lights and brilliant fireworks glittered, yet all that liveliness seemed to have nothing to do with him. He sat alone on the windowsill, watching others' happiness unfold, smoking a solitary cigarette in the night. At that moment, my heart ached for him. My eyes stung as I forced a smile and said, "Let me wish you an early New Year. Do I get a red envelope?" He seemed to let out a light chuckle, followed by the sound of a transfer notification. He transferred 100,000 yuan to me. I froze, and after a long while, Marcus suddenly whispered, "Hannah, come back soon. His voice was scattered by the wind, and I didn't catch the last few words. I couldn't tell if he meant to say, "I'm so lonely," or "I miss you so much." I couldn't care about anything else. After hastily telling my parents there was an emergency at work, I booked the earliest flight back to Shanghai. At 3 a.m., Shanghai was still bustling, with neon lights and revelry everywhere, and an endless stream of cars. Marcus's house was completely dark, with all the lights off. I panted as I rushed upstairs and banged on the door. "Marcus, open the door." I thought Marcus had already gone to bed, but to my surprise, he opened the door almost immediately, staring straight at me with an uncharacteristically stunned expression. He stood frozen in place. "How did you get back?" I smiled until my eyes crinkled. "I came to celebrate New Year's with you." Marcus said nothing, just kept staring at me like that. Just as I was starting to feel awkward under his intense gaze, he suddenly pulled me into a tight embrace, so tight, as if trying to press me into his very being. Since then, every year I would accompany Marcus for New Year celebrations before returning home. It had become our unspoken tradition. I just never expected that this year, despite having Lisa by his side, he would still ask me to spend the holidays together. I glanced out the window and whispered softly, "I went back to my hometown." Marcus was taken aback. He seemed surprised by my words, pausing for a moment before uttering an "oh," then forcing a casual tone as he said, "You're right. It's been so many years since I've gone home for the new year. I should go back and visit." "Yeah," I said, gripping my phone. Silence hung between us on the call, and I faintly heard Lisa's voice, "Marcus, come quick. How do you adjust this hot water?" "Coming," Marcus responded. "Then I'll hang up." I pressed my lips together. Marcus's voice betrayed no emotion. I took the phone away from my ear and pressed end call. The screen went dark. I thought I wouldn't be able to sleep, but unexpectedly I passed out the moment my head hit the pillow that night. When I woke up, it was already past 2 a.m. I was woken by thirst. The dry winter cold of the north was something I hadn't quite adjusted to yet. Having just returned, I went downstairs to drink a glass of water, but just as I was about to go back up, I suddenly heard faint noises coming from the bathroom. "There's a thief in the house." My whole body tensed up, and my hair stood on end. My heart skipped a beat, and I didn't dare to breathe. After pausing for a moment, I tentatively stepped barefoot on the floor. "My phone's upstairs. I need to go up and call the police." Just as I was about to reach the staircase near the bathroom, the bathroom door suddenly swung open. My scalp prickled with terror. Instinctively, I grabbed an umbrella nearby and swung it wildly at the intruder, but they caught the umbrella mid-air, and before I could scream, yanked me forward, clamping a hand over my mouth. Belatedly, I realized this burglar wasn't wearing any clothes. The exposed back of my tank top pressed directly against his bare torso. carrying a faint trace of lemongrass scent mixed with steam. Damn it. This thief not only broke into our house, but is not even wearing any clothes. Terrified he might suffocate me, I turned my head and bit down hard on his forearm, struggling wildly. But the man's strength was overwhelming. He held me in a vice-like grip. When I realized I couldn't break free, I instantly lost my nerve, filled with shock, rage, and terror. I feared he might kill me to silence me since I'd discovered him and my parents were still upstairs. With a trembling voice on the verge of tears, I pleaded, "Spare me, brave sir. There's my dad's secret stash in the cabinet by the windowsill. Should be around 2,000 yuan. If that's not enough, I can transfer more via WeChat, but I don't have much myself, just tens of thousands on hand. Let me go, take the money, and we'll pretend this never happened. I never saw you today. I'm still young, never been in love, never married. I don't want to die. I beg you." A light chuckle reached my ears, then the living room lights flicked on. After adjusting to the blinding white light, I saw a young man standing before me, bare-chested, with tiny droplets of water trickling down his beautifully defined muscles to the contours of his waist before splattering onto the floor. He was very tall, a full head taller than me, probably around 188 centimeters, standing in front of him. I felt like a quail in comparison. I stared at him for a moment before saying with mixed emotions, "Bro, with a face like yours, you could easily make 30 to 50,000 a night in the nightlife scene. Why on earth would you stoop to robbing my place? We're dirt poor." The man's cherry-colored lips curled into a faint smile, and I suddenly realized his voice was surprisingly pleasant too. "You must be Aunt Lee's daughter, right? I'm the tenant next door. The water heater over there is broken, so Aunt Lee asked me to come here to shower. Sorry for startling you." I was momentarily dazed before remembering that my mom had mentioned the neighboring house being rented out on our way here. Our family originally bought 2 adjacent small seaside houses. Although properties in this small town aren't particularly valuable, the scenery is beautiful. The balcony directly faces the sea. Over the years, as tourism gradually developed, people have been coming to rent the properties. I was so embarrassed I wished I could disappear into the ground, my face burning red as I stammered, "Sorry about that." The man waved his hand, "It's my fault. I was startled too just now." Oh, a perfect circle of teeth marks was imprinted on his forearm, already beginning to bleed. I was utterly ashamed. "I'm so sorry. Let me get some iodine to disinfect it for you." I really didn't expect that the first night after returning home would find me sitting on my sofa with a strange man. Our heads were nearly touching. As I pressed a cotton ball to his wound, I learned his name was Robert, a painter who'd recently come to our area for inspiration. "Looks pretty deep." I frowned at his wound. "Shouldn't you get a tetanus shot?" Robert also stroked his chin and said seriously, "I think I need to get a rabies shot." It took me a moment to realize he was insulting me. I couldn't help glaring at him, though my glare lacked conviction since I was clearly in the wrong. Robert laughed. "Honestly though, your bite mark is quite round, rather aesthetically pleasing. My mom really likes Robert too, always inviting him over for meals." She gave me a sly wink. "Robert is such a great young man, always helping me and your dad with chores. Just look at him, so handsome. If you two got married and had a child, the baby would definitely be." I sighed helplessly. "Mom, that's enough. It's not that I don't like Robert, but I once saw the coat he wore. I've seen that coat he casually tossed over the back of my sofa before. Marcus used to wear it. It's from a century-old Italian bespoke tailoring family, where even their simplest coat costs 6 figures at minimum. Another young master from a different world than mine. Yet Robert does have a way with middle-aged folks, calling everyone auntie and uncle with such ease. Since his arrival, he's been the one carrying all our large water bottles. Even my notoriously hard-to-please father can't stop singing his praises. Even on New Year's Eve, my mom invited him over, saying we should have the reunion dinner together. I secretly complained to my mom, "Why did you invite him?" My mom shot me a look. "Robert would be so pitiful here all by himself. How could you bear to see him lonely and without dumplings to eat?" I was at my wit's end, watching helplessly as Robert also took a seat at the dining table, his peach blossom eyes sparkling with laughter. "Auntie, your dumplings are really delicious." My mom's grin nearly reached the back of her head as she kept piling dumplings onto his plate. "Eat more if you like them." The more we talked, the more my mother couldn't help but circle back to the same old topic, sighing as she glanced at me. "Hannah, when are you going to bring a man home for your mom to meet?" Robert was still there too, and I felt a bit awkward. "Mom, what are you talking about?" Robert looked at me too. "Hannah is so beautiful. She must have many suitors." "Auntie, you don't need to worry." My mother pursed her lips. "How can I not worry? It's just like this child took after me. She's been pretty since she was little. I'll show you her childhood photos in a bit." I couldn't hold back anymore. "Mom, Robert also curled his lips into a smile. Sure, after dinner. My mom actually brought out the photo album and looked through it with Robert. This was her at 100 days old, chubby and so adorable. Look how Hannah was so fair as a child, with those big eyes. All the neighbors adored her back then, saying she looked like a doll. This was from her elementary school talent show. Oh my, those bright red cheeks are absolutely hilarious. Before my mom could finish flipping through, my dad called her away. I walked over feeling somewhat awkward and said, "Don't mind my mom, just ignore her if you don't want to watch." Robert looked up instead, his clear eyes rippling with amusement. "Not at all, Auntie's right, you really were adorable as a child." I froze in place. After watching the Spring Festival gala, the sound of firecrackers outside still lingered. Small towns don't ban fireworks, and colorful explosions filled the sky everywhere, though they all looked like cheap products. Their brilliance when bursting across the horizon was no less magnificent. Standing on the balcony with a beer in hand, I still couldn't help but recall my friend's words. She said Marcus was taking Lisa to the Cheval Blanc Randheli resort in the Maldives. Her tone was full of frustration. "You've been by his side for so long, how come you haven't won him over yet? If you were really with him, you'd save yourself decades of struggle." I could only smile wryly. How pathetic. He's probably all lovey-dovey with his sweetheart now. In the new years to come, he likely won't need my company anymore, just like his life won't need my presence anymore either. When friends learned about my messy relationship with Marcus, they called me shameless too. I know, it really is shameless. He never once said he liked me, yet I kept following him around in this ambiguous way. I loved him too much. I can't bear the thought of losing him. Even this self-deceptive intimacy makes me feel as if I've possessed him. Yet those false joys are like fireworks in the sky, gone in an instant, extinguished. "Mind if I join?" My thoughts interrupted. I turned to see Robert tilting his head at me, a cigarette dangling from his lips. After I shook my head, he took the opportunity to walk over, cupped his hands to light that cigarette, and took a deep drag. I made small talk. "Are you really okay spending New Year's alone here? What about your parents?" Robert also exhaled smoke and said calmly, "They're in a very distant place." I wish I could slap myself, quickly apologizing. "Sorry about that." Robert also glanced at me, a smile flickering in his eyes. "They're playing on a cruise ship to Antarctica." I shut my mouth, feeling like a complete idiot. Robert couldn't help but laugh too, the smoke caught in his throat, making him cough a few times before he grabbed the beer next to me and took a swig. I said dryly, I already drank from that." He handed me an unopened beer bottle while naturally keeping mine in his hand, saying, "What do people usually do for fun around here in winter?" He steered the conversation away, and after some thought, I replied, "There's not much to do here, winters are too cold." "Well, we could go to the movies." Robert also gave a slight nod to acknowledge. I broke the silence and asked curiously, "Why did you come here?" "For inspiration." Robert squinted at the distance. "Don't you think winter here is exceptionally beautiful?" "That's true. So when are you leaving?" This question Robert didn't answer immediately either. After a long pause, he stubbed out his cigarette but on a soda can, the corners of his mouth lifting in an almost imperceptible curve. "Originally planned to leave in spring, but suddenly I feel like staying a while longer now." "Why?" "Because my phone suddenly rang. It was an unknown number." I gestured to Robert as well, and he tactfully stepped off the balcony. "Hello." There was a long silence on the other end before Marcus's voice came through. "Hannah, did you change your phone number?" I wanted to sever all ties with Marcus, so I only told 2 close friends about changing my number. I stopped using my old WeChat account too, planning to delete it after sorting out my relationships. But Marcus can find someone too easily. I thought our separation was a mutual, unspoken understanding, never expecting he'd come looking for me. I mumbled, "Yeah." Marcus paused for a moment before saying solemnly, "When are you coming back? I'll pick you up." Fireworks exploded in the distance, their fleeting brilliance leaving only scattered embers across the sky a second later. I took a deep breath of the cold air, feeling my throat tighten slightly. "Marcus," I whispered, "I'm not coming back." There was silence on the other end for a long moment. After several seconds, Marcus's voice came through, unreadable. "Not coming back? What do you mean?" I opened the beer, and white foam spilled out. "I'm not going back to Shanghai," I said, gripping the aluminum can, feeling the cold seep from my palm into my body. My heart ached dully, throbbing in a way that felt numb from the alcohol. "I've decided to stay in my hometown." "Marcus, you were right, I'm not getting any younger. It's time to settle down with someone." Only the sound of breathing remained on the phone. I was silent for a moment. "Then I'll hang up. If you have nothing important in the future, don't contact me anymore." As I was about to hang up, Marcus suddenly raised his voice. "Hannah, what the hell do you mean? Explain yourself." Robert suddenly pushed open the balcony door. Beer, want some more? Marcus froze for a moment before demanding, Hannah, who are you with? I didn't want to talk to him anymore, so I hung up directly and blocked the number. Sorry, did I disturb you? Robert leaned over again. I shook my head. No, boyfriend. He suddenly seemed to get nosy. No, I said, taking a sip of beer. The icy liquid rushed down my throat, and I couldn't help but shiver from the cold. A coat still warm from body heat was suddenly draped over my shoulders. I tilted my head. Robert said casually, don't catch a cold. That night I forgot how late Robert and I drank until my parents didn't bother us, so we just sat on the balcony drinking and shooting the breeze. When I woke up, I was already lying in my bedroom bed. I stumbled downstairs half asleep, only to find Robert already dressed and sitting at the dining table peeling garlic with my mom while chatting. I couldn't help clicking my tongue in admiration. Some people could look like a poster model even while peeling garlic. No wonder he's a painter. Seeing that face every day, how could his aesthetic standards not be high? My mom frowned and scolded me. What time do you think it is? Still not up. It's the first day of Lunar New Year, and Robert has already come to pay his New Year respects. I glared angrily at Robert too. Just yesterday we were drinking together. How could he screw me over like this today? My mom noticed Robert rolling up his sleeves to reveal wounds on his forearm and exclaimed, Goodness, what bit you? That's such a huge teeth mark. I stopped. Robert also smiled faintly. Oh, a little curly-haired puppy. Whether it's straight-haired or curly-haired, all dogs need vaccinations. Have you gotten your shots? Yes, I have, Auntie. I gritted my teeth in secret. My mother continued her nagging. You young people must be bored staying at home all the time. Go out more often. Don't underestimate our small town, there are plenty of beautiful places to see. Robert also lowered his long lashes with a hint of melancholy. Auntie, I don't really have any friends here, and I don't know where to go for fun. My mother's heart ached at this, and she pointed at me, saying, She's just idling at home all day with nothing to do. Let her take you out for a stroll. Robert also smiled contentedly. Oh, thank you, Auntie. I rolled my eyes on the side. Robert might look like some untouchable Highland flower, but who knew he'd turn out to be such a damn green tea bitch? The next morning, I packed up briefly, originally planning to accompany Robert for a stroll after breakfast. My mom was still busy in the kitchen when there came a knock at the door. It must be Robert coming over to mooch a meal again. I went to open the door with irritation. Here to mooch another meal. My voice caught in my throat, my eyes wide open. The person standing outside the door was Marcus. He was dressed in a black overcoat, a layer of snowflakes resting on his shoulders. He blinked, melted snow dampening his eyelashes. I stammered. What are you doing here? Come wish your uncle and aunt a happy new year. You've taken so many red envelopes from me over the years. Isn't it my turn to get one now? My mom came out of the kitchen waving a spatula, excitedly saying, Robert is here. Auntie made your favorite braised pork buns. She stared in surprise at Marcus. Marcus nodded at my mom. Happy New Year, Auntie. I'm Marcus, Hannah's friend. As he spoke, he placed the numerous bags he was carrying in the living room and said politely, I hope you don't mind this unannounced visit, Uncle and Auntie. I glanced at all those large and small packages, various expensive tonics, and even a Hermes bag. These were red envelopes that would drain my parents' wallets dry and still not cover the cost. My mother set down the spatula hesitantly. No problem. That. She racked her brains for conversation topics. Marcus, have you eaten yet? If not, let's eat together. I thought Marcus would refuse. After all, when would a young master like him ever eat in a place like my home? Marcus nodded instead and said obediently, I haven't eaten yet, thank you, Auntie. I secretly watched him, thinking he must have lost his mind. When Marcus arrived, my parents were polite but distant. My parents aren't fools, they know exactly who's responsible for all my wasted years. Truth be told, Marcus not liking me isn't really his fault, but of course my parents thought their daughter was perfect in every way, and anyone who couldn't see that simply lacked taste, so they kept giving him the cold shoulder. After a while, the doorbell rang again. My mom went to open the door. Robert came in carrying a watermelon. Auntie, I just saw a watermelon vendor and thought I'd pick one up. My mother's expression immediately changed, beaming with joy as she said, Oh my, you shouldn't have brought anything. Watermelons are so expensive in winter, this child is wasting money. Not expensive at all. Auntie, did you make your famous spiced meat buns this morning? I can already smell the delicious aroma. Yes indeed. Robert, my mother quickly fetched slippers for him too. Your favorite. Eat to your heart's content today, we've got plenty. Yes. Robert has already earned his own pair of slippers at my place. At this rate, if I come home half a year later, my parents might as well be his. The dining room suddenly became lively. Robert was chatting with my mom about everyday life, while Marcus remained silent, barely eating anything. I really don't get it. Robert is such a wealthy, handsome guy, and a painter to boot. You'd think he'd be all aloof and unapproachable. How could a conversation with a middle-aged woman jump from how Aunt Lee's daughter from the South married a blonde guy and got pregnant before marriage, nearly giving Aunt Lee a heart attack, to how old man Wang from the East ruined his reputation in his later years by fooling around with the maid and trying to kick his wife out with nothing? What kind of nonsense is this? Until Robert also asked me, Hannah, where should we go have fun today? Marcus suddenly put down his chopsticks and looked coldly at Robert, saying, May I ask who you are? The question was quite impolite, but Robert wasn't angry and replied with a smile, Oh, I'm someone who lives in this house. Marcus's face darkened instantly. The meal left me feeling like sitting on pins and needles. As soon as we finished eating, I immediately dragged Marcus upstairs. What exactly are you here for? I frowned. Shouldn't you be in the Maldives with Lisa? Marcus turned his head away. Suddenly don't feel like going anymore. He spoke with rising irritation, questioning me. Hannah, why did you suddenly return to your hometown? Couldn't make ends meet in Shanghai, no apartment, or no car. I'll give you money, a house, a car, I have everything. Come back to me and it's all yours. My gaze fell on Marcus's face. The arrogance between his brows was too sharp, it should have made him seem harsh, yet his face was too handsome, turning that hint of harshness into an air of lofty, dashing charm. So many years have passed in the blink of an eye, yet he hasn't changed much. I pressed my lips together in a bitter smile. Marcus, what do you want me to go back for? He froze. There's nothing left in Shanghai that still holds me. And what about me? You're just going to abandon me like this? After all these years together, Marcus furrowed his brows, looking genuinely upset. I cut him off. You already have Lisa. Don't you, Marcus? I raised my head and looked at him earnestly. I can't revolve around you forever. I have my own life too. Aren't I getting older too? It's time I settled down with someone, wasn't that what you said? Marcus stared at me blankly. Robert called from outside. Hannah, are you ready? The car's here. Just as I stepped out, Marcus suddenly grabbed my arm with such force that my wrist ached. Who is he? His face darkened. My tenant. Tenant, Marcus sneered. I bet your parents already see him as their son-in-law. Hannah, you're only going back to your hometown because of him, aren't you? I snapped impatiently. Think whatever you want. Let go. I need to go out. Marcus pushed me against the wall, gripping my cheek fiercely with one hand. His eyes burned with fury as he spat out words without thinking. What? Have you slept with him? Does he make you feel better than I do? Slap. Marcus turned his head away. The slap was delivered with full force. Marcus's lips split open as blood slowly seeped out. He wiped it with his thumb, smiling instead of getting angry, then grabbed my hand and pressed it against his other cheek. Feel better now? If not, hit this side too. My eyes reddened with urgency as tears began falling uncontrollably. Marcus, what on earth are you trying to do? Tears fell on his arm, as if burning him. Marcus suddenly snapped back to reality. Reaching out awkwardly to wipe away my tears. I'm an idiot. I said the wrong thing. Hannah, don't cry. At that moment, all the grievances I'd bottled up for so long came flooding out. I couldn't hold back anymore. I crouched on the ground, burying my face in my arms as sobs racked my body. Marcus flusteredly tried to comfort me. I'm sorry, Hannah, I was wrong. I got too angry just now. Hit me. He pulled me up and wiped my face roughly. Don't cry. Hit me instead. I cried even louder, trembling with anger, pointing at the door. Get out, Marcus. You disgust me. Get out. This was the first time I laid hands on Marcus, and also the first time I yelled at him. Marcus stood frozen in place, a trace of bewilderment flashing across his face. Just then, his phone rang. When he answered, Lisa's voice came through. Marcus, where have you gone? My stomach suddenly hurts so bad. I'm at the hospital now. Can you come back and stay with me? Marcus said nothing and hung up the phone. After a long silence, he suddenly murmured in a low voice, Hannah, if you ask me to stay, I won't leave. I wiped away my tears and said calmly, Go away, Marcus. Don't come looking for me again. Marcus gave me one last look, his eyes dark and heavy. Fine, he said, Hannah, don't regret it. Then he slammed the door and left. I don't know why Marcus pulled this stunt, after much thought. It's probably because I'd always been orbiting around him before, and suddenly leaving made him feel somewhat uncomfortable. Perhaps in his eyes, even if he doesn't like me, I should still keep following and pestering him. But given Marcus's arrogant nature, after being scolded like that by me, he probably would never come again. I wiped away my tears, feeling complicated inside, yet also strangely empty, as if nothing remained. In the end, I couldn't go out with Robert that day either. When I went to explain to him with red eyes, Robert didn't say anything, just reached out and patted my head. That evening, he came again, My parents had gone out to visit relatives. As soon as I opened the door, Robert was dangling a white lace panty from his slender fingers. It was mine. My face burned crimson as I snatched the underwear and clenched it in my hand, lowering my voice. "Where the hell did you get this?" Robert looked equally innocent. "It blew over from your balcony." I was sketching in the yard when it suddenly landed on my head. My head felt like it was boiling, and I stammered, completely at a loss for words. Robert just kept laughing. He looked at the underwear clutched in my hand, and that smile of his looked so punchable it made me want to thank him, but the words stuck in my throat. "What's so funny?" I glared at him fiercely. "Are you thinking what kind of age still wears white lace? How tacky," Robert replied with a beaming smile. "Not at all. It's adorable." I lowered my head and suddenly felt my heart skip a beat. "Get some good rest tonight," Robert said as he handed me a jar. "I'll come pick you up tomorrow." He closed the door and left. I looked down. It was a bottle of warm milk. On a cold winter day, that warmth traveled upward from the palm of my hand. I reached out and touched my heart. In the end, Robert and I didn't get to watch the movie. The movie was scheduled for 6 p.m., but the snow was too heavy to hail a cab. And his own car wasn't available. I told him to catch the last bus instead. Turns out this young master probably had never taken a bus before. After confirming that the last bus was around 6 p.m., he confidently led me out. When we finally reached the bus stop, the bus had already left. We chased after it for ages, but it never stopped. I was furious. Those 8 yuan movie tickets went straight to waste. No other choice, since I'd already done my makeup. We might as well take a walk by the beach. The winter seaside is beautiful, as if the entire world has been tinted with a cool blue filter. The streets are blanketed in white, with blue signs sticking out of the snow, and occasionally, bundled up couples huddle together, chatting and laughing, on the narrow streets. The warm yellow glow of car headlights illuminates the swirling snowflakes. I was also walking on the beach with Robert, chatting idly. I've looked it up these days. Robert is actually a renowned genius painter in the industry, with his works fetching at least 6 figures. Even one of his paintings was auctioned off in Hong Kong for over 3 million before. "What have you been painting lately? I haven't seen you paint at all." Robert also glanced down at me and said, "I'm not telling you." "Fine, don't tell me, like I even care, you're so full of it." I rolled my eyes. The icy, damp sea wind cut straight to the bone. Having lived in the south for so many years, I'd grown unaccustomed to such bitter cold. I rubbed my hands together and blew on them. Robert chimed in with his usual annoying tone. "You were told to wear more clothes, but you just had to look pretty. Now you're cold, aren't you?" I shot him a glance. Any decent man would take off his coat for a woman right now. "Are you even a man?" "I don't usually talk like this. My friends all say I have a good temper, but somehow whenever I'm with Robert, I can't help but snap at him." Robert also raised an eyebrow. "But I'm only wearing one down jacket too. If I give it to you, won't I be freezing?" What a jerk. I used to think he was considerate and charming, but now it seems I was completely mistaken. I stomped off angrily on my own. If they wouldn't let me wear it, fine, I'd just warm myself up by moving around. Robert suddenly grabbed hold of me. His low chuckle sounded above my head. "Can't let you wear it, but I can share half with you." As he spoke, he unzipped his jacket and pulled me into his embrace. Wrapping me inside, a faint scent of verbena enveloped me. Dazed, I pressed against his chest, belatedly realizing I could hear the sound of a wildly pounding heartbeat, like thunderous drumbeats. I couldn't tell if it was mine or his. His body was warm, driving away the chill. We stood quietly embraced on the beach, neither of us speaking first. The snow had stopped at some point, and the clouds in the night sky parted, revealing scattered stars. Among them, one shone particularly bright. Robert also looked up for a while. "Hannah, have you seen The Princess and the Frog?" My mind went blank. "What? There's a firefly in it who's always loved a star." He named that star Evangeline. I nodded blankly. And then what?" The waves by the shore had frozen, spreading out in layers of white, while the continuously surging waves behind piled up snowflakes. "Hannah," Robert suddenly called out to me too. I looked up. Robert was also gazing deeply at me. A faint glimmer flickered in his eyes, tender and lingering, as he slowly leaned down. I didn't dodge. A cool kiss landed on my lips. Sitting on the plane back to Shanghai, I couldn't help but smile bitterly at the window. Just said I wouldn't come back, yet here I am again. It's just that a friend is getting married, the most important event in one's life, so I had to come no matter what. Robert insisted on coming with me, but after that kiss, my mind was in such turmoil that I turned him down. He looked quite displeased, staring straight at me at the airport as I left. "Hannah, if you don't come back, I'll go to Shanghai to find you." I nodded. I'll come back. I'll be back tomorrow." Just as I put the red envelope into the box and sat down in the banquet hall, I felt a gaze fall upon me. Marcus naturally pulled out the chair beside me and sat down. Lisa frowned slightly when she saw me, but still smiled and said, "Hannah, I heard you went back to your hometown. Why are you back already? Came back for a wedding, then I'll be leaving again." Lisa let out a relieved sigh, her smile widening slightly. "Oh, that's a shame. Well, you absolutely must come to mine and Marcus's wedding when the time comes." I couldn't be bothered to engage in verbal sparring with her, so I brushed it off with, "Yeah, if I have time." During the meal, Marcus didn't know how to better flaunt their affection, now serving Lisa food, now shielding Lisa from drinking. The two of them glued together in sickeningly sweet intimacy. In the past this would have made my heart ache, but now all I could think about was Robert's kiss from earlier. What does he really mean? Does he like me? What should I do then? Do I like him? Marcus was being even more affectionate over there. Lisa was all smiles at first, but her expression suddenly changed when Marcus placed a piece of beef on her plate. She said stiffly, "Marcus, I'm allergic to beef. Did you forget?" Marcus paused mid-action, about to speak, when a sudden commotion erupted nearby. The next table was the family table, where the groom's relatives were unhappy that the bride had bought a house before marriage. Fueled by alcohol, they started shouting, "Your family is just scheming against us." The bride's relatives were also upset. "We agreed to split the down payment for a house together, but your family secretly bought one and expected us to pay for the renovation. What kind of logic is that?" The groom's drunken uncle pointed a finger and yelled, "What's wrong with paying for renovations? Don't tell me your daughter would shamelessly move in with just her luggage. Are you selling your daughter or what?" The bride's family also stood up. "What do you mean by selling your daughter? You secretly changed the agreed terms. Everyone knows property appreciates while renovations depreciate. Do you think only your family is clever and everyone else is stupid?" The two families kept arguing, neither willing to back down, no matter how much the bride and groom tried to mediate. They refused to stop. Someone threw the first punch, and in an instant, the whole place descended into chaos, dishes and plates flying everywhere. Amid the chaos, several liquor bottles came crashing toward our table. Marcus suddenly stood up and shielded me. A liquor bottle smashed onto Lisa's head. With a crisp sound, Lisa's scalp began oozing blood. Marcus didn't notice, instead pushing aside the bottle in front of me and asking anxiously, "Hannah, are you okay?" Lisa stood frozen in place. Her hair matted with blood against her forehead as she stared blankly at Marcus shielding me behind him. Marcus only then noticed the wound on her head. He opened his mouth to say something, then fell silent. Lisa's eyes slowly reddened. A bad feeling came over me. I stood up with my bag, ready to leave. Lisa's hostility toward me was understandable, but I'd already given up on Marcus and truly didn't want to get involved between them anymore. "I'll head back first," I said hurriedly. "And thank you for earlier." "Wait." Marcus instinctively moved to chase after me. Lisa called out tearfully from behind, "Marcus, if you dare chase after her, we're through." Marcus gradually came to a halt. After a moment, he glanced back at Lisa, his face not showing sorrow but rather a trace of relief, as if a weight had been lifted. "Fine," he said. Lisa widened her eyes. After a long moment, she stared straight at Marcus, tears falling down her face. "Marcus," she slightly lifted her chin. Her eyes filled with heartbreak mixed with hatred. "You've gone too far." Then she turned and ran out in disarray without looking back. Stepping out of the hotel, I lowered my head and asked, "Why?" Marcus remained silent. After a long while, he suddenly stopped walking and laughed at himself mockingly. "Because I fucking like you." "Alright, Hannah, I get it now. I fucking finally get it. I've been an idiot." He closed his eyes, his posture no longer as rigid, as if a taut string had finally snapped, or as if the weight pressing down on him had at last been lifted. "Being together, I know you like me. From now on, whatever you want from me, I'll give it to you. I won't be with anyone else again. Come back, Hannah." I looked at him for a moment, unable to help thinking how happy I would have been if he had said those words a few months earlier. I've liked him for so many years. Over the past decade, I've been exhausted, I've cried, I've suffered. But never for a single moment have I given up on loving him. I've finally obtained what I've always dreamed of. Marcus has responded to my feelings. I just found it laughable, really, as an indescribable weariness welled up inside me. I shook my head. "No." Marcus grabbed my shoulder abruptly, his brow furrowed tightly, a flicker of agitation flashing through his eyes. "Why, Hannah, how dare you say you don't like me?" I looked up into his eyes. This man I've loved for 10 years has grown from a boy into a man. Though his features haven't changed much, I feel as if everything has shifted with the tides of time. For the first time, I understood so clearly that we could never go back to how we were before. "No one will wait for you in the same place forever," I said calmly. "Marcus, loving you was far too exhausting. I'm tired now, and I don't want to love you anymore." Sparse dampness fell upon me. It was raining. The rain grew heavier. An endless stream of cars moving through the curtain of rain, neon lights casting bizarre and dreamlike hues that flowed like illusions. Marcus fixed his gaze on me, raindrops falling into his eyes, that spark within them slowly fading. His lips parted slightly, trembling as he spoke in a shaky voice. "Hannah, don't do this. Give me one more chance. I'm begging you." Marcus was always too proud. After all these years by his side, I'd never seen him humble himself like this. He said he was begging me, but who should I have begged in those years when loving him hurt so much? I suddenly realized that affection doesn't fade away gradually. Rather, it vanishes abruptly in a single moment. That flame which once nearly consumed me completely, once extinguished at some point, could never be rekindled. I lowered Marcus's hand and whispered softly, "It's too late." Marcus had water droplets clinging to the corners of his eyes and brows. His clothes were soaked through. His bangs plastered to his face. The rain seemed to carry the weight of 1,000 pounds, layer upon layer, breaking all his pride. He blinked once. A water droplet hit the ground with a soft plop. I don't know if it's rain or tears. 6 months after returning to my hometown, my relationship with Robert still hasn't progressed. We still get along very happily, but every time the topic of defining our relationship comes up, I feel like I'm not quite ready yet. The last relationship was too painful for me. I'm a little scared now. That day I went to see Robert, only to find him packing his things. A suitcase stood to the side as he was folding clothes. I don't know what I'm feeling inside, only that my heart suddenly tightened, making it hard to breathe. "Are you leaving?" I asked in a daze. "Yeah." Robert didn't look up either. "Why so sudden? When's your flight?" "It's at 2 p.m. I'll be leaving soon." I stood there, somewhat stiffly saying, "Oh, I see." The room fell silent. I should say something, but I couldn't utter a word. After standing there for a long time, I managed a forced smile. "Well, the only remarkable thing here is the snow. Summers aren't particularly special." Robert also looked up at me sideways. "Don't you have anything else to say?" The forced smile on my face must have looked utterly dreadful. Have a safe trip, is that all?" Unable to suppress the sting in my nose, I lowered my head to hide it. "Nothing much." Robert also teased with a smirk. "Oh, are you gonna cry?" My eyes were stinging, yet he shamelessly bent down to peer up at me. "Crying now? Are you really crying? This guy is absolutely insane." Now I couldn't even cry if I wanted to, so I shoved him angrily. "You're out of your mind." Robert also laughed, the corners of his eyes lifting mischievously. "I know you can't bear to part with me. I'll be back the morning after tomorrow. Don't forget to pick me up at the airport." I stammered in surprise. "Huh, you're coming back, obviously," he retorted, rolling his eyes as he brushed away a tear at the corner of mine with his thumb. "I've already paid a year's rent." Without thinking, I blurted out, "And after that year?" Robert also stroked his chin thoughtfully. "In a year, I bet Mom won't charge her son-in-law rent anymore." My face flushed red as I reached out to hit him. "Who said you're her son-in-law?" Robert grabbed my wrist and pulled me into his embrace. The playful smile faded from his face as he gently lifted my chin. Between ambiguous kisses, he murmured, "Wait for me to come back." The next message about Marcus came half a year later, sent by a friend. "Marcus has severe depression. Did you know, a few days ago he swallowed a bottle of sleeping pills with alcohol. Luckily his assistant found him early and got him to the hospital in time for stomach pumping." She said cautiously. "They say he was still conscious when they took him to the hospital. Kept calling out, 'Your name.'" I fell silent. "Do you want to go see him?" After hesitating for a while, I still refused. Our paths should have diverged long ago, whether for better or worse. I no longer wished to have any connection with him, but I never expected Marcus to come looking for me. The snow comes early in the north. By December, the sky is already filled with swirling flakes. The small town knows little noise, and even the snow falls in silence. Robert and I had just finished grocery shopping and were heading home when we spotted a dark figure standing by the streetlight near our building. Already blanketed in a thick layer of snow, Marcus simply watched us quietly, his eyes utterly desolate. "Hannah," his voice fell into the snow, trembling slightly. I gave Robert a nudge and said, "You go back first, I'll come up in a bit." Robert frowned slightly before reluctantly replying, 5 minutes, just 5 minutes." After he left, Marcus walked up to me. Nearly a year had passed since we last met. He had grown thinner, and the sharpness in his eyes had dulled. "Something on your mind?" I asked him. He just stared at me silently, his eyes gradually reddening. He said hoarsely, "Hannah, I can't let go. What should I do? How did you let go?" "Teach me, will you?" I said calmly. "When the pain is enough, you'll let go." Marcus looked dazed, his body slightly hunched as if these words had become a knife thrust into his flesh. We just missed each other. His eyes reddened. If I had understood sooner, maybe we could have. No, I shook my head with a bitter smile. Marcus, between us, it was never about missing each other. If I never leave, you'll never remember me. We're destined to be, but there's no future for us. Marcus moved his lips slightly. He seemed to want to say something, yet the words wouldn't come out. Tears trailed down from the corners of his eyes, perhaps melted snow. I held his hand and sighed upon seeing the fresh scars on his wrist. Marcus, I used to think the world would collapse if I couldn't have the one I loved. But now I understand, this world keeps turning. No matter who leaves whom, you'll let go eventually too. I glanced at my watch. Almost 5 minutes had passed. Robert is such a petty one. If I'm late again, he'll start with his sarcastic remarks. I turned and waved. I'm leaving, Marcus. After walking quite far, a heart-wrenching cry suddenly came from behind. Hannah, I can't let go. I'll never be able to let this go in my lifetime. I kept walking without pause. Hey Tilda, Hannah, Tilda, I just can't let it go, Tilda. As I was taking off my shoes, Robert leaned against the wall, mimicking me in a weird tone, constantly shooting me sideways glances. I pretended to be casual. My mom wants us to go eat dumplings later. Are you coming? He immediately forgot about what just happened. Yes, genius painter Robert's upcoming art exhibition made it to the trending topics. My friend was so excited they called me. Please, you know Robert too, right? Help me get a ticket. I'm crazy about him. I went to ask Robert, but he only gave me one ticket, not a single one more. Just yours. What an asshole. I gritted my teeth in my heart. But when the day of the exhibition came, my body honestly went. I really wanted to see Robert's paintings in this small town. The exhibition was titled Evangeline. What was a bit strange was that there wasn't a single person at the entrance. The exhibition hall was pitch black, and I felt a bit uneasy. Could I have remembered the wrong time? The next second, all the lights came on simultaneously. I stood there frozen in place. The exhibition hall was filled with paintings of me, large and small, arranged in uneven clusters, standing on the balcony drinking beer, walking on the beach in an overcoat, blushing and grinning foolishly with lowered eyes. I never knew Robert had painted so many portraits of me. I don't know how he remembered, but the expressions of the figures are vivid, with tender brushstrokes overflowing with love. Every scene since we met has been recorded by his painting brush. Walking further down the corridor, I saw the last piece was an oil painting, 2 stars nestled together in a tranquil night sky, emitting a soft glow. My eyes couldn't help but well up as I watched the person emerge from behind the painting. Robert also laughed. Hannah, would you be my Evangeline? My eyes reddened, yet I couldn't help but laugh. Breaking into a run, I leaped forward and threw myself into his arms. Extra times Marcus's perspective. When friends ask me what I like about Lisa, I say she's simple, quiet, and seems quite safe. Yet another person's image surfaces in my mind. I brushed that figure away. Hannah is just a friend, and can only be a friend. I never really thought Hannah would leave. She's been with me for 12 years. How many 12-year spans does a person have in their lifetime? From her birth until now, nearly half of her time has been spent with me. We can't live without each other. I never thought she would really leave. She said she's going back to her hometown and won't be coming back. I felt utterly ridiculous inside. If she's not coming back, then what about me? After hanging up the phone, I went out to the balcony to smoke. So what if she's gone? Just a friend anyway. I have plenty of friends. Yet my heart wouldn't stop panicking, and my hands couldn't light the cigarette after many tries. This won't do. I need to go find her. I must get to the bottom of it. Why hasn't she come back? I'm right here. Where else could she go? But the moment I saw her, I suddenly realized this time she was serious. Finally, panic set in. When I saw another man by her side, I was consumed by rage. I'd never been so furious before. The words spilled out uncontrollably, and she slapped me across the face. She told me to get lost, so I left. After returning home, I rummaged through the closet and found that Snoopy pajama top. I knew she'd bought the matching set. At the time I hadn't said anything, and had even worn it a few times. She was always overjoyed whenever she saw it, giggling behind my back and even taking pictures. When leaving, she told me to throw away the pajamas. But I don't know why I didn't. I just tucked them into the wardrobe. I took out those pajamas and just stared at them blankly. It dawned on me belatedly I'd actually liked Hannah for a long time. Actually, I was the one who depended on her more. It's just that deep down, I felt I shouldn't like her. I still remember what my mother told me before she died: don't love someone too much. Feelings can be deadly. Feelings killed her. She spent her entire life on a man, and in the end, she lost her life too. I understand, feelings like affection can fade away. Love is unreliable, no matter how deeply two people love each other. In the end, they can't escape growing tired of each other, even turning into enemies. Lovers may leave, and if I were with Hannah, she might grow tired of me or fall for someone else. But friends won't. Friends can stay together for a lifetime. I know Hannah likes me, but I pretended to know nothing, deceiving myself all along with the pretense of friendship. But only now do I realize that she too can grow weary, can feel pain, she too can walk away. I tried to win her back. Told her I'd finally understood, cast aside my pride to beg her. Hannah loved me so much, how could she bear to make me suffer? But she just smiled at me calmly. It's too late, she said. I knew I had no chance left. Hannah's love had vanished from her eyes. It's nothing, right? If she can let go, so can I. For a whole year, I didn't seek her out. I avoided any news about her, pretending this person didn't exist in my world. I ate alone, sleeping alone. Gradually I began to grow accustomed to this life. Sometimes I couldn't help thinking that perhaps Marcus had also grown used to my presence. If we could start a family someday, we would surely be very happy. I hadn't thought about her since. I thought I was over it, that I had let go, until one day, I suddenly couldn't sleep anymore. I could no longer fall asleep. I started taking sleeping pills, then began hoarding them. After saving up a whole bottle, I washed them all down with alcohol. I didn't even feel much pain. I just feel like nothing matters anymore. While unconscious, I dreamed of Hannah. After she left, I never dreamed of her again. This was the first time. In the dream, it was snowing, bitterly cold. She still looked like her 17-year-old self, draping a red down jacket over me while scolding, "Marcus, how come you still don't know how to take care of yourself at your age?" Tears instantly streamed down my face as I clutched her hand tightly. Hannah, however, slowly pulled her hand away, growing bit by bit until she returned to her adult form. Her smile looked weary as she said to me, "Marcus, I'm leaving now. You'll have to take good care of yourself from now on." Tears streamed down my face as I begged her not to go, but she just slowly pulled my hand away and turned to leave. A suffocating pain surged in my chest. It felt like she had torn out my heart and taken it with her. At last, I understood I had never truly let go, and now, I never will.